Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. And today I wish to continue conversation over topics that are dominating all of our news resources, both network, cable, internet, YouTube. And that of course is the debate raging about firearms, assault weapons bans, mass shootings, and of course the Second Amendment. Now, before I go a moment further, I want to continue to express to the families suffering in Newtown, Connecticut, that my heartfelt sorrow is still with you. My thoughts and prayers. I will not, however, stand by when so many would lie, so many would deceive. There has been an attack on the Second Amendment, and in these last days we've heard many things said about it. That it no longer relates to our society. That it's antiquated. That it really doesn't apply. It should be removed from our Constitution. I have some things written down here because I can't remember it all. You see, that pesky Constitution often gets in the way when people want to further their opinion and force an agenda on others. So they say the Bill of Rights no longer applies to society. Oh, I'm sorry, not the Bill of Rights, just one piece of it, the Second Amendment. But they would not turn that same logic to other amendments, would they? See, I believe that the Bill of Rights was added to our Constitution because those founding fathers understood that they needed to go an extra step to ensure the citizens, the people of this nation, that they would have rights that were guaranteed. Rights such as freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble, and of course, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Much of that language has been challenged over the years. There are those that just cannot stand the fact that we can own firearms, that we can bear our firearms, that we can protect ourselves. You see, in my opinion, the Second Amendment is the final check and balance to our government and to a free people that enjoy liberty. Simply that. There are those who say that it's just meant for a militia. That has been discussed. Others have said, well, does it provide an individual right? Well, our courts have differed with you. And let's see, where am I at? The Federal Court of Appeals ruled the Second Amendment protects the rights of individuals, including those not actually a member of any militia or engaged in active military service or training, to privately possess and bear their own firearms. Our Supreme Court recently, in a case of Washington, D.C. versus Heller, the majority opinion, the unamended Constitution and Bill of Rights uses the phrase, the right of the people. Two other times, the first and the fourth, and the ninth, uses similar terminology. All of these instances unambiguously refer to individual rights, not collective rights, or rights that may be exercised only through participation in some corporate body. Nowhere else in the Constitution does a right attributed to the people refer to anything other than individual right. What is more, provisions of the Constitution that mention the people, the term unambiguously refers to all members of the political community. not to an unspecific subset. Well, we have those that say that our Constitution, as far as the Second Amendment is concerned, is antiquated. That there is no way that the framers could understand, could fathom, could conceive of the advances in technology, the advances in firearms, to understand the lethality that they possess. The framers looked at the world completely different than we do today. That is true. James Madison was the primary author of the Bill of Rights. He is also known as the father of the Constitution due to his role in its formation. Him, along with Thomas Jefferson, were great influences of those founding documents of our country. James Madison was also one of 3 authors of the Federalist Papers, a group of essays written to explain our Constitution and lobby for the ratification of our Constitution. The Federalist Papers, number 46, addressed a concern that people had, that a standing federal army, at that time only 25 or 30,000 troops, might conduct a coup and take over our nation. James Madison wrote, "To these would be opposed a militia to near 500,000 of citizens with arms in their hands, officered by men chosen from amongst themselves, fighting for their common liberties, united and conducted by government possessing their affection and confidence." Goes on to say, "Besides the advantage of being armed, which Americans possess over the people of almost every other nation." That is also true today. "The existence of subordinate governments to which the people are attached, and by which militia officers are appointed, forms a barrier against the enterprises of ambition more insurmountable than any which simple government of any form can admit of. Notwithstanding military establishments in several kingdoms of Europe, which are carried as far as the public resources will bear, those governments are afraid to trust their people with arms." That is very relevant today, is it not? And I fear that we are seeing the enterprise of ambition. Now, I've watched some shows to note Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, Ed Schultz on MSNBC. They have both said that the Second Amendment is antiquated. By the way, if you're not watching programs that have opposing views to yours, you're doing yourself a disservice. Lawrence O'Donnell is often very dramatic in his rhetoric when he's trying to influence a position. He did not disappoint. As a matter of fact, he read an excerpt from the New York Post, I believe, that suggested that our Second Amendment was indeed antiquated and should be removed from the Constitution. That those framers could not conceive of those technological advancements that we have seen. They could not understand the devastating effect of modern day weapons. Lawrence O'Donnell suggested that not only should it be removed, but if it remains, it should be changed to say you have a right to bear muskets. A firearm that can only fire 1 round, and then you must reload it in order to fire again. Well, I say to you this. If that is indeed your logic, then we should also apply to the rest of the Constitution, should we not? Let's look at the First Amendment. The freedom of religion. The freedom of speech. The freedom of the press in particular. You see, those framers, They saw small newspapers, books, and they felt that the people should have the freedom of that expression. They could not have understood, fathomed, conceived of the technological advancements of the printing presses and newspapers, of radio, of TV, cable, satellites, the internet. The ability one person has to affect so many people in the world today. Obviously, the framers could not have conceived that. So by your logic, we should also rescind the freedom of the press, should we not? Am I being ridiculous? How is the argument different? It is not. And of course, I do not believe that. To be dismissed because I stand up for my freedom to own firearms, a freedom to protect myself, my family, my children, grandchildren, my community, and if need be, my nation. To suggest that there's blood on our hands if we stand for these rights, as they were intended by our founding fathers, as they have been defended from every generation since, is despicable. It is despicable that you should speak in such ways. We do need to look. We cannot tolerate these mass shootings, these senseless deaths. The first thing to do is not get rid of the Second Amendment. The first thing to do is not to incorporate a assault weapons ban that has already been to be proven ineffective. We have to look deeper. It will be harder, but we must be resolute and we must be determined. These gentlemen obviously do their research. They know the truth. Yet they say something quite opposite. Many suggest that the NRA has too much power. I suggest there's many groups that have even more at work in our government to keep the truth from the people, to try to pass ideals without the true facts. We must be resolute. I love my country. I love the people within it. But I hate being deceived. Thank you for watching my video. I appreciate it. And remember to shoot straight on the range and more importantly in life.